One check for every 409 pitch decks. That's the funding rate for early stage startups. And it's not because most founders have bad ideas, it's because most founders don't understand what investors are actually looking for when they read a pitch deck. I'm Sam Wong, angel investor and Band of Angels member, and a startup coach who's helped 5 companies raise $12 million in the last 2 years. In this webinar, I break down exactly why most pitches fail, what sophisticated investors are looking for in every section of your deck, and how a scientific approach to pitch preparation, one that goes far deeper than slide design, can dramatically change your fundraising outcomes. You'll also hear from my co-host, Joseph Miranda of Dream Trainer, and from e-commerce investor Jeff Erickson, who has a funded offer waiting for qualifying startups who complete this Pitch Academy program. Whether you're actively pitching right now or still building towards your first raise, the next hour will change how you think about investor conversations forever. Let's get into it.
So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining. We're here to have an information session regarding an upcoming Angel and VC Pitch Academy from our company, Fundable Startups, in conjunction with several other partners that we have here. We are calling all startup founders to be able to help them perfect their pitch deck and then pitch to angels. That's what this Angel Pitch Academy is all about. We encourage folks to stay through the end of the session as much as possible, because towards the end we'll talk about how to be able to qualify for up to $15,000 or possibly more in initial funding. Okay, so we've arranged for a number of investors to participate at the end of the event, and there's a standardized offer that we can talk about towards the end of this session. And then it doesn't stop there. There's additional opportunities for potential more follow-on investments. Okay. To provide a little bit of background, my name is Sam Wong. I have done the blessing or the curse of having done 5 different startups. The first 2 shut down. The last 3 did get acquired, thankfully. After the last one was acquired, I did go back, and the golden handcuffs fell off of the acquiring company. Then I did go back to the startup space. I was an advisor for 2 other companies that also got acquired. A lot of startup founders want to raise funds, but the reality is startup number 1 on this list in my history, where I was a VP of engineering, that company raised the most funds, $55 million, and we still shut down. Startup number 2 had the best tech. I was a VP of engineering there. And of the 5 startups, it absolutely had the best tech. It still shut down. Okay. And it largely shut down because we made mistakes in execution, which is what led me to write a book about it after the 5th startup was done. This book focuses on startup execution. It's available on Amazon.com. And by way of experience, in terms of startup fundraising, I am an investor with Band of Angels. It's the oldest tech investment angel group in the United States. The band tends to fund about 2 startups every month. Over 400 startups have been funded. We're probably closer to 500 now, which has resulted in 97 acquisitions and 17 IPOs from the portfolio companies. That represents like a 20% exit rate. Okay, which is probably 2x the typical of most investors. So it's a great group of investors with a lot of experience. I personally invest in the past 2 years, roughly. I've made an investment every 2 months, most of them through Band of Angels startups. I have also been on the founder side. As you saw from the previous slide, I worked with 5 different startups, and now I work as a fractional executive for a number of startup founders. Of the 5 most recent clients that I've worked with, 100%, all 5, raised money within the last 2 years. Okay. But I am not a fundraising matchmaker. Okay. I focus on fundability before fundraising, with a lot of hands-on work and deliverables. We'll get into some of the details and some of these 5 clients that I mentioned here. We'll get into it later in the session. In terms of pitch experience, I work with a number of startup accelerators, Berkeley Skydeck, as well as Alchemist Accelerator. Skydeck's training class that they use to teach how to pitch, half of that is mine. Okay, I donated my content to Skydeck there, so if you're part of the Skydeck program, you'll probably see some common content. But what I've done here is a lot more detailed. Okay. I've also worked as a pitch judge a number of times. I'll be judge at Pitch Force later this week, as well as a number of other angel groups. I focus a lot on communication since I wrote a book. I'm the author and designer and author and instructor for all of over 60, 70 hours worth of training. And there's a lot of storytelling that goes into it. Okay. I also have a fairly significant investor network of over 300 investors, and we'll be inviting more of those investors to participate in our academy here. I'm going to pass the ball real quick to Joseph Miranda. He's also on this call. He's with Dream Trainer to talk about our partnership together.
Very cool. Yeah. And so, Sam, if you could check out the waiting room while I do this, but
Yeah.
I'll be quick. So, I'm Joseph Miranda of Dream Trainer, and I'm really excited that you're all here. And so, what Dream Trainer is doing is it's bringing Sam here and Jeff, who you'll hear about soon, together around the mission. And so, my goal, our goal, is to open the gates that are blocking your opportunity. Your opportunity meaning coming at you with being the talent, the individuals who deserve to be guided and supported through systems like this. And so my whole background is this is over my career of over 15 years, I've helped over 10,000 adult professionals succeed across some of the most difficult licensing exams in the country. And so what I've seen is that for founders like us, our pitch is our licensing exam. And so fundraising, just like anything else, requires intense expertise to intervene where you're struggling, to make sure you're sharper, and to have access after you succeed. So Sam brings the expertise. He's the individual here who, as you just saw, has everything it takes to help you, give you the best chance possible. And then right after that, the idea is to remove the warm intro, to make this merit-based.
Mhm.
Sam is the trust wrapper that then Jeff recognizes and says, yeah, if you pass Sam's course, and if you're everything that, is necessary that we declare, I'll give you that chance. And so I'm very excited because Dream Trainer is about creating that infrastructure for you. So this cohort is really a dream in the making for over a year, and it's going to unlock future cohorts. So we're really looking for gritty, mission-aligned founders that are ready to consume everything Sam says and knows that the team here is really going to support you because your ability to succeed means everyone else is going to be able to follow because of the metrics and the success that you create. So thrilled to be here. Super excited. Hope you are too. Now I'm going to pass it back to Sam.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. Um, so Joseph and I are partnering because Joseph has a system that has resulted in lots of individual students going through and being successful. I have a lot of training, but what I've also found is that founders struggle sometimes to be able to go through it all. So we're partnering to be able to get the best of his best practices, as well as the training content, which we'll talk about in just a moment here. Okay. So, if we dive into the topic in general, I think everybody understands that early stage fundraising is hard. Martin Tobias is a pre-seed venture capitalist, and he had an online post where he just summarized last 12 months. He went through 4,500 pitches, 4,500 decks, and only wrote 11 checks. Okay, that represents a 0.2% funding rate, which is one check for every 409 decks. Okay, it's a pretty low percentage. In fact, if you look also at Mighty Capital, SC Mawadi is the managing partner there. If she summarized in a conversation I had with her, her annual workload for her VC firm, they also looked at about 4,000 pitch decks. 1 in 10, they took a pitch meeting with the founder, and of those pitch meetings, about 1 in 10, they also went through due diligence, meaning that sounds interesting. I might actually be interested. But in going through the diligence, they ended up making only 10 investments, okay, which hopefully results in some exits later. It's a lot of work. So if you look at the number of work days in the year, they're getting 16 pitches per work day. They do 8 pitch meetings per week, and only 1% of the pitch decks they receive, they actually express an interest in. That's a pretty low percentage, 1%. But of the ones they're interested in, only a quarter of those actually get funded. And it has the same metric, about 1 in 400 pitch decks actually get funded. This is also a significant concern for angels. I spoke at the Angel Capital Association's summit back in April of this year. And at that summit, I did an informal survey of the angel investors and the executive directors of various angel groups across the country. They mentioned top three concerns of angel investors were um, how to be able to optimize investor time because most of these angel groups are volunteer based and they're just trying to drive activity. The second is quality of deal flow, and the third is return on their investment. It's that second issue which we are absolutely trying to address with this Angel Pitch Academy, okay? Because a lot of angels see weak pitches. And if you look at the metrics, 1 in 400 actually get funded. That's not a very good ratio, okay? Um, so the reality is startups are everywhere, and you really have to be a standout to get noticed. I will use the term virtuoso because I think people understand the level of work that it takes, but people do not apply that same concept to their startup pitch, which is, I think, one of the reasons why a lot of startup pitches fail. If I look at the training environment out there, I'm kind of disappointed, I'll be honest. I am late to the game in building my own pitch academy because I was kind of relying on many other startup advisors and resources to offer the training. But when I looked at what they were actually offering, I was not happy. I was not satisfied because I felt like they only covered the 10% of the stuff that they should cover. Okay. And the reality is, if you want to be an athlete, a pro athlete, casual coaching and backyard play is not enough. You people usually start off playing backyard football, and if they're a child, they get into Pop Warner. Then maybe they'll play in high school, and if they're good enough, they'll play on the college team and maybe make it to the pros. Okay, my experience is that the vast majority of startup training, pitch deck training is in special, lives in the first three categories. It's backyard to high school. And if you are still growing your skill set, that's great. You can probably learn something here. But in order to actually succeed in your fundraising, to maximize your chances of succeeding, you have to be in the far right, upper level D1 college or pro level coaching and training. Okay. Well, what about AI? Isn't AI very transformative nowadays with the pitch decks? Well, there was a presentation that I attended with Chris Ye. He's a venture capitalist. He's also the author of the Blitzscaling book in conjunction with Reid Hoffman. And his very first point in his presentation about AI was mediocrity is now free. And it lines up with my perspective on this. The spectrum of training is that the vast majority of training is in the backyard football to high school. If you're just getting started with your skills, that'll help. But the reality is, if that's the majority of the training that's available, AI is trained on this knowledge base, okay, which results in mediocre training. Okay. What I found is that when we tried to use AI to evaluate pitches, it missed a lot of stuff. Yes, it caught a couple of the stuff that stands out, but I was very unhappy with it because as an investor, having looked at dozens of pitches every single month, I I just felt like it would not pass muster. Okay, certainly not with Band of Angels and many of the other angel investors that I've worked with. So we built our own program. It's taken over 500 hours to build so far, and that doesn't even count existing content if that we're taking from our past training. Startup concepts are hard. Okay. And what we're trying to do, if you've seen The Matrix, a seminal science fiction movie, we're trying to create rapid expert learning. And in that movie, The Matrix, the protagonist, Keanu Reeves, plugs into a machine, and the machine teaches him kung fu in like 5 seconds. All right. Our goal is rapid expert learning for you. We're trying to create that plug-in machine to allow you to learn something hard as quickly as possible. And if you look at some of the skills, there is a segment through ESPN. I'm a big sports fan, where they go through sports science and they take pro level athletes and they have them do pro level athletic things and they measure the science-based metrics behind it. This is DJ Fluker. He's an offensive tackle in the NFL. His playing weight is almost 340 pounds. And basically, when he hits you, their measured impact is 1,800 pounds of force. Okay. And they don't just stop with one player and doing one thing. If you look at ESPN Sports Science on YouTube, on the ESPN website, etc., they do the scientific analysis of wide receivers and the angle at which they cut, how fast a defensive end gets off of the line of scrimmage to be able to attack and pressure the quarterback, 2.3 seconds. They look at all these things, how fast people accelerate, etc., and they train to them. Pro level coaches and coaching staff do this level of analytics and training. Okay. So what we're trying to do also in our startup training, our pitch deck training, is mimic that. Okay. We are trying to build that pro level fundraising with our pitch science. Okay. And students who participate in the academy, your pitch is going to go under a microscope. Okay. It's going to be very, very significant and very, very detailed. We break down the investor pitch into 5 sections. The first section is the opportunity, where you explain the problem and the solution. Second section is the market, where you show the potential of what you're trying to build. The third section is one of the most important, which is execution, and that's where you show your de-risked winning approach to building a successful startup. There is an optional section with financials, and it depends on the type of pitch that you're doing. You may have a few slides here or more content. You show here a plausible path to building what you're trying to build. And then there's a uniqueness section because every startup is different and who you pitch to is different. We see the need to customize the pitch based on what type of story you're trying to tell. These 5 sections result in 20 common investor pitch slides. Okay. I hate the concept of a startup pitch deck template, but I guess you could say this is our version of a pitch deck template, although it's much more than that. Okay. You'll see that effectively, I'd say 95% of pitches will draw slides from this inventory of 20 types of slides. Okay. And we'll go through that in great detail in the Angel and VC Pitch Academy, starting off with the opportunity. Okay. It's where you talk about the dream and the team. Okay. What problem is being addressed? Who is building the startup and what type of skills that team has? Once you graduate from that first stage of training, you have a chance to get to the next stage, which is desirability, where you talk about the market and the momentum. How big can this be? How much traction have you gotten so far? Okay. And then if you graduate from that, you finish the homework and pass the exit criteria, the exam, if you will. Then we go into viability, where you talk about the path and the plan. How will you build this startup? How much money is needed? What are going to be the key outcomes of that? And then we will get into investability, the deal and the diligence. What does the investor offer? What risks are involved? Okay. If you progress through all 4 stages of this, then you have a chance to pitch to angels. In fact, angels will, the plan is to be able to have angels book on your calendar. All along the way, we are providing incremental access to angels. So there are outputs from each phase, and we will be connecting angels to that output so that they learn about your startup as you're building your pitch. Okay. So if we look at the first stage of the training, the opportunity section, I'm going to describe what we'll cover in that stage. First, we talk about what the intro into pitching investors. Then we have a storytelling module, which is a little over 2 hours. Both of them are about 2 hour sessions. And then we get into the slide specific content, starting with the title slide. We provide a framework for you to be able to tell your story based on spin selling. Spin selling is a structured sales methodology by Neil Rackham. I think it's a very effective one for general use. Okay. And it's a question-based concept, and we help you to be able to frame up your startup and your story using all 4 of the letters in the spin selling, SPIN. Okay. And that allows you to be able to have a framework to be able to tell the story in an efficient way. Then we'll also have a section talking about the traction. And in the early stage, when we're focused on the dream and the team, it's early stage traction. There are things that you can do to be able to de-risk the startup regarding traction, even though you may not have any sales yet. Okay. So then another topic is the situation, and this provides talks about four different ways to be able to communicate and open and draw your investor into what you're doing. Method one is a context, method two is story, method three is an elevator pitch, and method four is mission. There are separate modules on each one of those four. Then you talk about the problem. Okay. If people don't understand the context, then sometimes the problem is lost. And I can't tell you how many times as an investor, the startup founder in a 5 minute pitch, they're 2 to 3 minutes into the pitch, and I still don't know what they do. Okay, that happens just way too often. Once people understand the problem, then you can talk about the solution and then the team. Then we have a module on how to structure your mini pitch story and your story flow and the importance of building your mini pitch video. This represents 15 different training modules, over 5 hours of instruction, with over 400 slides and visual aids. The this This stage also includes homework and interactive coaching. All right, so it's a lot of detail just for these 5 or 6 slides focused on the dream and the team. If you pass the exit criteria for this module, for this stage, then you can advance to the desirability stage. And these are the 12 modules that are currently part of the program. 12 modules of 3 hours of instruction, 200 plus slides with the same integration with homework and coaching. You uh, meet the exit criteria for that. You go to stage three, which is the viability, with about 12 modules there as well. 4 hours of instruction, 250 slides built so far, with again additional homework and coaching available. Then the fourth stage is investability, where we have about 10 training modules, but even though they're larger modules, it's more than 6 hours worth of instruction, 300 slides and visual aids with additional homework and coaching as well. Our goal is to help you, again, perfect your pitch and then pitch to angels. So, how's this going to work? In the first stage, the key output of that stage, I mentioned exit criteria. The mini pitch is the key exit criteria. You're going to do a little 3 minute video. Okay. That mini pitch, once you've created it and it's reviewed by us and we think it meets the quality criteria, then we will send that mini pitch to angel investors. Okay. And they can express interest once they start seeing these little mini pitches. In addition, once you're approved, then you can get to the stage two. The key output of stage two is going to be an execution plan for how you're going to actually build out your startup. If that is approved by us, then we will re-highlight the mini pitch to angels, and you can progress to stage three, the viability, which is where you'll build a financial model and your full pitch video. After you finish the viability section, you've gone through enough modules where you'll cover enough of the detail on the slides that the full pitch video can be created. If all of this is approved, then the final pitch is sent to angels. Okay. And while angels are reviewing the final pitch and expressing interest, I want to talk to that startup. All right. Then you're also working on the investability, where you'll work out your data room. Okay. And the angels will reach out to you to set the meetings. Okay. So this is the plan. And as you can see across the bottom strip of the slide, you get increasing exposure to angels the further and further you get, and the more mature your pitch progress is. Okay. So our plan is to launch our first Academy cohort in the week of mid-July, okay, July 13th. With a special invitation for e-commerce startups. If you happen to be here at the last session, we were saying that it'll be exclusive to e-commerce startups based on the level of response that we've gotten. There will be, a strong focus on e-commerce, but startups from any industry, e-commerce and non-e-commerce, are welcome to participate in this first cohort. Okay, any startup, any industry. And let me take a pause now. Jeff, do you want to unmute and talk about your offer? Jeff is with F&F Ventures.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me, you and Joseph. So first off, a little quick intro on myself. My name is Jeff Erickson. I'm a general partner at F&F Ventures, also the founder of Founders and Funders. I've known Sam for many, many years, way back in my days early on at Carta, and have I absolutely love working with Sam. He is a fantastic mentor and helper of startups everywhere. And so, what we've kind of worked out is as companies go through Sam's program, we're excited to talk to you as founders because I mean you're going to learn what we're looking for, and we're not going in and trying to just sift through all of the noise. Hopefully, there's a lot more signal coming our way if you've been through Sam's program and this accelerator program. Quick background on F&F Ventures. We are a early stage startup fund that is focused on e-commerce companies. We'll write small checks, um, typically in the range of as low as $15,000 for super early stage companies, up to about $250,000 for some bigger e-commerce companies. But that's our bread and butter is e-commerce focused. Um, so we like to say we're not going to be the biggest check, but we hope that we can have the biggest impact. Some of the advisors on our fund and partners in our fund, well, all of us have experience in the e-commerce space in direct to consumer, and we like to leverage that um, in helping you. I think there's another slide here where it just kind of shows some of the things that we're helping provide additional value for. But it's mainly, being able to, help with sourcing. We've got connections overseas and here domestically on the sourcing side. So there's opportunities to cut, cost of goods sold. Um, Channels, so sales channels, whether it's retail or other ways, we can help increase the, distribution of product. That's how we like to help our portfolio companies as well. We're also connected with a lot of different funding sources, not just other VCs in this unique space, but with other non-dilutive funding sources that we might be able to work out something where it makes a lot more sense for you as a founder and ultimately us as an investor, where we're protecting the dilution of this amazing asset that you've built. So, and then obviously introductions to other investors as well. We do like to co-invest with a lot of really good investors in this space. So, anyways, huge shout out to Sam and Joseph, what you guys are building here. Um, Listen to Sam, he knows what he's talking about. I've been on enough of his programs or been through enough of them and talked to a lot of founders coming out of them that he adds a ton of value.
I appreciate that, Jeff.
Appreciate you,
So
Jeff. Yeah.
yeah, maybe you can get into a little bit more detail on the funding offer. Okay, our Jeff is just one example of an investor who will be available at the tail end of the program. I have had numerous conversations with other angel group directors of other angel groups to deal with the quality of deal flow, so that instead of 1 in 400 slides or pitch decks, they'll have hopefully a much better percentage of fundable companies coming out through our program. So the first funding opportunity, if you are an e-commerce startup, which is being offered through Jeff's and his fund, he already mentioned it, a $15,000 post-money safe, okay, for qualifying companies. The valuation cap would be somewhere in the $3 to $5 million range, okay? And a quick metric, a target would be 8.5K in monthly direct to consumer sales. That's basically about a $100,000 run rate, okay, if you annualize that. Okay. Also, there's an expectation that you agree to sign up for a Shopline store. Okay. And the other requirement is a C corporation. Can be done in any state, but Delaware is strongly recommended. LLCs have to be handled separately. We generally, if you're an LLC and a startup trying to raise investor funds, you're going to face a lot of problems. And I have a lot of content about that. There's tax issues, there's investor Schedule K1 issues, there's all sorts of problems with that, which is why we talk about the C corporation. In addition, if you're raising on a SAFE, SAFEs only apply to C corporations. And if you have an attorney who modifies it to apply to an LLC, that attorney just created a tax problem for you. And that attorney also doesn't realize what the investors look for and care about. If you're an LLC as an angel, most angels won't invest in you. Sophisticated angels, that is. And those are the ones that you want. All right. So, the second stage of the funding, if you receive the first stage and you're qualifying, and you grow your monthly revenue to 100K monthly gross merchandise value increase, there's a chance for an additional 10K per 100K growth. It's also going to be a post-money safe with a valuation cap that's to be determined. Your Shopline store is live and you're clearing basic diligence there's no like knockout issues. Doesn't have to be deep due diligence, but we just want to make sure that that the company is a real corporation, for example. If there's not incorporated, then okay, sorry, you can't qualify. Or if someone has a criminal background in financial fraud or something, you probably won't qualify. All right. But that's the offer, the two-stage offer, and there will be other opportunities as with other investors. It's just that Jeff has tried to standardize the offer so it's a little bit more clear the opportunities for you to raise from Jeff. Okay. I do want to make a sidebar conversation or side note here on investor lists. Up on LinkedIn about 2 weeks ago, I did a quick search on paid lists of and free or paid lists of investors, and there were dozens of hits. It seems like everybody out there trying to get visibility on LinkedIn is talking about, hey, I have an investor list of 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 investors. If you comment on my post, I will go ahead and send it to you. And I did a screenshot here. 751 people commented on this guy's post. So 700 people want lists of investors, thinking that that's what's going to solve their problem. The reality is, if you're looking for a date and I offered you a list of contact info for a bunch of supermodels, and I tell you, here's the email address for all these supermodels. It's up to you to reach out to them and ask for a date. Do you think that's going to be very effective? Okay. I'm sorry. Investor lists can be helpful, but the reality is you have to build something compelling first. Okay. If, you want to go on a date and, maybe it's best to shower, brush your teeth, learn basic conversation, learn to be helpless, selfless, not helpless, excuse me, selfless. Those things will be much more effective than just a list of contact info. Okay. I mentioned earlier that 5 out of 5 startups that we've worked with recently on a fractional basis have raised funds. This spanned from mid 2024 to early 2026, just under 2 years. Typical time to raise was 4 to 9 months, and as I mentioned, all 5 of them raised. One of them was a medical device startup. It took about 7 months of a fractional role with them. They raised $4 million. Another one was an AI marketing startup. They raised $2 million in a span of about 5 months of working together. Another one was an AI productivity startup that raised $5 million in almost 2 years. There was multiple closes during that time that added up to the $5 million. And then another one was more recently a hardware startup that was very early stage, pre-seed, raised 280K, 4 months worth of work. Okay, that closed earlier this year. Okay, and in fact, that particular startup, when they pitched to an angel group, the feedback from one of the angel investors in the room, that was one of the best pitches I've ever seen. You should teach a class on this. Now, this was the founder pitching, not me, of course. Okay, but the founder had a pitch deck before, and I looked at it, and there were all sorts of issues with it. This is a list of some of the things we did to rebuild their pitch, changing their story flow, rewriting the core messages, shortened the mean time to clarity types of issues with that spin selling framework. We provided a context slide because a lot of people don't understand the nuance of what this company was particularly doing because they solved a very niche problem. We helped them quantify the impacts. We structured the revenue model, added pipeline traction, added partner traction. They had a lot of traction that they didn't capture in the pitch deck. Then we clarified and justified the market, demonstrated the differentiation against the existing products, helped them to visualize an investor upside, and even helped them to fine tune the terms of the raise. So smaller number of slides afterwards, very much focused on the de-risking, which resulted in the 280K investment. Okay. There's a article on the Harvard Business Review website about how to master a new skill. Pitching is hard, okay? And many startup founders have never done it successfully. So if you dig into the article, it has a couple of suggestions. One is get the right help and go with the best teacher, okay? Many of you have been through a number of my webinars before in the past, so you get a sense for the type of detail that we provide. In terms of the teaching, we have a two-pronged approach. One is more academic approach, which is a pedagogical approach, more of a classroom learning, and that's a lot of the slideware similar to what we're talking about here. And then there's more of an athletic model, which is coaching centric. Okay, we believe that you have to learn by doing with a coach. Okay, and that both of them are important. We are also careful to design our academy to maximize participation. So if you look at the way people learn, there's typically there's readings, source material, audio, visual content, demonstrations, discussion groups, practice by doing, and you can also master something and then teach other folks. Each one of these different learning models and learning methods has a knowledge retention rate, and this is sourced from a research from Edgar Dale on audiovisual methods and training. So as you go further and further down the process, the retention rate increases. There are passive teaching methods kind of at the upper end of this triangle, and there are more participatory teaching methods. Most startup training is lecture-based. Okay. What we've tried to do is focus on the audiovisual in our academy, okay, because we can tell you and you might forget. We can teach you, you might remember, but if we involve you, this is where you can really learn. This is a quote from a Chinese philosopher. Okay. If you look at the sample weekly schedule, we oftentimes have larger training sessions, 1 day a week. There are multiple, this is just an example. There are multiple founder work days, and then you'll continue with additional mini training sessions and then act on that. There will be office hours and coaching, okay, with some follow-up tasks, okay. And every week will be slightly different, but as you can kind of sense here, there's a lot of this will be what the training kind of looks like. A lot of the training will be self-paced, okay. Some of it will be live, some of it will be self-paced video. And as an example, this is the slides for the team training. Okay, it really focuses on how to understand what an investor is thinking and not just how to build a slide. I would be willing to wager most people here think the team slide is one of the easiest slides to build. It's actually not. Okay, it's one of the hardest. Okay, because I mean, we get into so much detail. There's 55 slides to talk about how to build your team slide. And it's not about just put this data. It focuses on what an investor thinks because most investors will agree that the team is one of the most important things that affects their investment decision. How many training courses get into this level of detail on the team? If it's that important and the training program doesn't cover it in this level of detail, then you're missing out on a lot of stuff. I put together a lot of the questions that I have when I review an investment opportunity, which is why, again, there's 55 slides. You may ask, is this really necessary? No, if you're playing backyard football, but yes, if you really want to make it to the NFL. Okay. And that's what we really want to do. We'll have this quote here from Bear Bryant. He was the former head coach of University of Alabama's football team. And at the time he retired, he held the record for the most wins in collegiate football. He also had 6 national championships and 13 conference championships. His quote, he said, "It's not the will to win that matters. Everyone has that. It's the will to prepare to win that matters." This course is about preparation. Okay. And we do not expose you to the investors and before we think you're ready. All right. And the question we have is really, are you willing to work hard to prepare? Most founders want to just rush into the pitch process and fundraising process when they haven't done the preparation, which is why 1 in 400 pitch decks is the success ratio. Okay. It's a terrible success ratio.
Let me summarize why founders should consider our Angel and VC Pitch Academy. I've reviewed many pitch programs, and most offer basic instruction only. As an investor, I've also reviewed the pitch decks of many graduates of these programs, and I'm sorely disappointed. With over 1,100 slides and 18 hours of instruction, our program dives deep, addressing many issues that other programs miss. Most programs rush to fundraise. Our program actually helps you assess and build fundability while we help you perfect your pitch. Most programs end with a demo day to pitch investors. Since this is your first and only exposure to investors, it's a big leap from where you're starting to where you want to be. Our program provides incremental connections to investors. If this were a college class, instead of all your grade depending on the final exam at the end of class, we have homework assignments and midterms leading up to the final exam so you are better prepared. Most programs provide a pitch template and teach you how to fill it in. Our program teaches you how investors think. Our program shows you how to tell an engaging story about a de-risked startup. Just focusing on a pitch deck template is like teaching someone how to follow a recipe to make a hamburger at McDonald's. Our program teaches you about food and develops kitchen skills so you can serve as a sous chef at a Michelin-starred restaurant. Pitch deck recipes provide robotic steps that usually don't build anything special. Instead, we focus on how to cook great food. Samin Nosrat is a former chef at a Michelin-starred Chez Panisse and the author of Salt, Fat, Acid, and Heat. Unlike most cookbooks, her book helps you understand food and how to prepare it. Her book is full of decision trees, diagrams, tables, and charts. She even shows you how to carve up a chicken. Instead of mindlessly following the steps of a pre-written formula unrelated to your startup, we focus on helping you master the kitchen so you can customize the meal around what's special about your startup.
So we're wrapping up here. I'll get into a couple things and then open up for questions. But what's this going to cost? So the Pitch Academy across all 4 of those stages, almost 50 training modules, 18 roughly hours of instruction, and there's also over 1,100 slides, visual aids, etc. All of it integrated with coaching. Our monthly price is $397. We do have a one-time discount for this initial cohort. It's a launch discount. It's a 40% off, which is basically reduces the cost to under $239 per month. Okay. I'm not a big fan of discounts because, like Elon Musk says, never discount a Tesla. But for the launch purpose, we'll do this here. Okay. We believe there's a lot of value. There's been put a lot of time in. The first cohort begins mid-July, and in order to reserve a place in line, we've set up a web page for you to put a $10 deposit down. You can scan this QR code, or if scanning doesn't work for you, or you don't have your phone handy, you can also click on this link in the chat window. Okay. It's a paid reservation list. It's a $10 deposit. If you're interested, then we encourage you to go to this webpage, drop $10 in. The $10 will be deducted as a credit against your first month's fee, so there's no loss if you do end up participating, okay, in the training. So we'll have that QR code up again, but in terms of prerequisites, we do recommend a C corporation. Delaware is preferred. Um, we do recommend that you have some type of third-party idea validation. And then if not, we can help you to be able to put some of that together with identifying your ideal customer profile, your structuring interviews and surveys. Okay. We also recommend fundable inflection points that you understand from you. If you've seen some of our training, we talk about these fundable inflection points. And then we also ask that there's a commitment that you invest to learn and apply the concepts. Okay, we think it will take somewhere between 8 to 12 hours. So we're estimating high on this, and we recommend at least a day to a day and a half a week to invest. If you can't carve out that time, then maybe you might want to wait until you can carve out that time to participate. And we ask for an openness to tough love. Okay. We're not just going to blow smoke up your skirt to be able to encourage you to keep participating so you keep paying the monthly fee. If you're not ready, we'll tell you, and that's going to hurt our revenue, but that's ultimately the long-term best case for you. So founders who participate in the academy, the outcomes would be either the investor exposure at the end of the program, or you'll continue to participate in the program and work through the refinement, updating your homework, and if it doesn't meet the criteria, we'll work with you to get to the point where it does meet the criteria, or we might tell you to pause your participation so that you can work on various fundability needs. So this academy is not your startup savior. It is not an automatic guarantee to funding, and it's not just investor intros. If that's what you think, then this is probably not the program for you. But what we do want is people who are ready to invest to be able to hopefully get to, especially if you're e-commerce, the numbers, the offers here, the 15K and 50K, that's from Jeff's program with F&F Ventures. And we can open it up for questions. Go ahead and allow folks to unmute. And probably the first place is ask your questions in the chat window. After we get through the questions in the chat window, maybe we'll take some live verbal audio questions as well. Okay.
And as you guys text your questions too, I just wanted to share something that I think is really the power of it, because what Sam shared about the successful startups that he helped raise was actually what was the trust wrapper that satisfied Jeff to say, not only from my relationship with Sam, but also there's some talent here. So I just want to show that it is your commitment, your grittiness, your ability to really feel that you're a part of something. I mean, imagine in every future raise you have that you have something like this, where your warm intros, where the cold pitches are gone. It's you work hard, you hustle, you create something that an expert actually who's there with you says, you're game, you're ready, and you move on. So I just want to make sure that you all feel like there's something exciting here, but I'll go ahead now and we'll see the questions that come in. And one that came up from James that I think would be great is, Sam, what do you expect for startups, let's say outside of the United States?
Yeah, the principles are pretty much identical. All right. What we teach applies regardless of geography. In terms of the funding, though, most of the investors are going to be US based, and most of the US based investors don't invest outside of the US. So if you want to be able to learn how to be able to perfect your pitch, this is very useful. In time, we may have more international investors. Some of the investors who invested in some of the startups that I mentioned earlier are internationally based, but it's probably going to be a fairly small percentage of the investor base. If you happen to have a plan to build a US presence, then this might be one reason for you to create a US-based C corporation if you are interested in raising funds from a US-based investor.
It's a great question. So that's, Canada, India, you have that understanding. And then JD Roth, how many weeks is the program? Can this be expedited? love that. I'll kind of address that and then I'll ask Sam, maybe
Mhm.
Jeff to kind of chime in. But I would say respect you, but if that's the mindset, you want to kind of reset. Because what I mean by that is the ability to get to the stage where you make investors lean in. I mean, that is an intense and arduous effort. So it's up to you. We're going to give you everything so you know you can hustle day and night, but there's like a standard that needs to be reached. And for some of us, that's a couple of weeks. And for some of us, that's several months because the real deal is on the other side, right? So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, Sam.
Yeah, that's almost like saying, how long will it take for me to be healthy? Okay. And the answer is it depends on you and where you're starting. Full disclosure, I just had my annual physical and my blood work was not very good. My triglycerides were really, really, really high. So I have to change a lot to get those
Mm,
triglycerides numbers down. How long will it take? Depends on how disciplined I am about my eating, how much I work out, how much I put into it, and where I was starting. Okay. So we can't specify how long this is going to take. I can estimate based on the history that it'll probably be several months. This is not, I think it's a very small number of participants who can finish the program in less than 2 months. If you look here on the past companies, now most of these companies on this slide, they were not, my work with them was not all pitch related. In fact, I have some other content that summarizes the work that we did in the 5 months or whatever. There's a lot of work that we did to help them be fundable. I'm gonna guess that 3 to 6 months might be the average participation rate, okay, based on past experience. But it's all going to depend on you. If you're a madman going after all of the training and you adapt and implement the concepts very, very quickly, it can go quicker, okay? But I would guess based on history that I would not expect it to be 1 to 2 months. Okay.
good questions. And then
See a question from Adrian. Love to know more about the time commitment over the course of how many months. Understand each founder is different. However, just jumping in a monthly subscription without a potential end is a bit unnerving for an academic program. I understand what that's a very good point. There is no time commitment on the founder's side in terms of you're not signing up for a year-long program or anything. You sign up for the first month, and if you feel like it's either too much information, too fast, you're not ready, you can cancel and you'll just be out the 1 month. Okay. There's no
right.
prorated refund or whatever. But we're not obligating anyone to sign up for 6 months or more. Okay. It's month by month. All right.
Yeah.
So
And
there's
we're
a
here for your
lot of flexibility.
success too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. We really want to have it fit into your needs.
Kind of for Mike, I'm already working with a great set of mentors, which is great. Love that. For founders in your position, what do you think is the most impactful way to leverage the program? And I think very similar to what Sam shared earlier. It's like you see the power of what we're doing. And I think entering into the course with a sense of, okay, let me see what benefit I can get because you will get a benefit. I think you'll kind of make that determination. Maybe there are some gaps that we can close. Maybe there's some things that can open up. And also the fact of the investors on the other side, right? Being able to get to that stage is something unique. But again, as you go in, we're here for everybody. So if there are issues, if there are questions, you're going to be able to reach out to me. We'll make sure you feel 100%, whether that's, you take it for a month or we prorate it or we refund if you found out it wasn't really a great fit. But pretty much if you're in it, just use the cheesy expression, if you're in it to win it, if you're really here to create that result, then I think it'll be a powerful thing to take advantage of.
Okay. There was a question about will the training be recorded, and I responded in the chat that most of the training is actually self-paced video content. The coaching is live. We are, full disclosure, going to implement some type of AI to have a digital version of myself. It's we're working really hard to make sure that that the output from the AI, digital version of myself is meets our criteria for quality because I've seen a lot of, that Chris Ye slide earlier about mediocrity is now free. AI does a lot of mediocre stuff. If we're not happy with the AI stuff, then we're not going to roll that out just yet. Okay.
And then Jintis, I'm interested, but I'm at least a few months away from being ready for this program because I need to do a few things first. Makes sense. What would be the other available future starting dates? Probably, stay connected. I think you can make sure that for the date that you're ready, you can go to the wait list. But once we launch this cohort, we're going to continue to discuss. But you can imagine it'll be rolling. So just as you learned about this, you'll learn about the future cohort. So you don't have to worry too much about that.
Yeah.
Always
Yeah.
good to get a head start though. And then not sure if
Yeah.
you had any addition to that.
Yeah, what I would say is that we're going to design it so that it can be kind of like if you've ever traveled to a major tourist destination city, you might see those big bus tours. It's hop on, hop off. Okay. Our plan is to design it so that you can hop in and hop out based on your own schedule and needs. You don't have to participate every single week. Most of the content is going to be recorded. So it's the first session, the first cohort this July, where the first session will be delivered live. Okay. And we'll intersperse a number of live sessions, especially in the later courses. Okay. Here, the opportunity, desirability, viability, investability, there will be a lot of people in the opportunity stage, and it'll slowly get less and less as because as participants need to get through the exit criteria of the previous stage. Um, our expectation is desirability and viability will have more live content, and the live delivered training will be recorded. Okay. But there will also be a lot of resources for you to take on a self-paced basis, so that you could watch it per your convenience. Okay. So I guess the answer to that question is, um, in, in fact, even with this first cohort, you don't have to be there for the very first session at the launch kickoff date. You can hop on, hop off per your convenience of your schedule.
And then Sergey asked, what's the earliest one can get their hands on the learning material? And then I replied, July 13th. Love the enthusiasm. That is our launch date. We haven't scheduled any pre-release at the moment, so you can anticipate that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then Adrian wants to ask a question live.
Yeah. Go ahead and unmute
Open it
yourself,
up.
Adrian.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrian. Thank you for taking my questions live.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
am a founder and I've been through probably about 3 or 4 different accelerators. One that was investor specific. And fortunately enough, I live in a place where these programs have been available to me um, at no cost, right?
Okay.
And I do find that one thing that being in a program with no cost means that you really don't get a commitment to your success after the program is over, right? You just become a number that they are able to continue to pitch these programs to for them to grow, based off of my experience. So something like this to me seems very attractive because this seems like I'll get support in the areas that I need going forward in order for me to have a successful round. I know I said I had a question and that was a statement. But
Mhm.
my question is there a part of the program? I know that you said that you'll go through to see if we are actually at the stage of fundability, right? Is that like a part of an initial onboarding assessment? How do we know in advance whether or not we should be jumping in and taking advantage of this? Because I'm sitting here and I'm saying this seems like this is exactly what I need right now. However, I'm also pre-revenue,
Yeah.
and being pre-revenue, I just want to be very mindful that fundraising is where I should go versus continue to do pitch competitions.
Right, right. I totally understand. And it's interesting that I think it speaks a lot, the fact that you've been through a number of I think you said four free programs, but you're still looking at another program, ours, okay? That basically says that what you've gone through so far has not completely, my read on that is it hasn't met all your needs, okay? I would say that you had a question about the fundability and how to assess that. I thought a lot about how to be able to structure this based on what most founders are looking for and what I believe needs to happen regarding fundability. Okay. And I ended up landing on the fact that um, our program will help you assess and build fundability. Okay. And I ended up trying to focus on the reason that there's so many slides on a per slide basis. That the example I gave was for the team slide, 55 slides to talk about how to build a team slide. Well, you only need two or three slides to talk about how to structure the slide itself. The other 50 slides are all about helping an investor to understand why your team is the right team to build this out. How to be able to understand the investor thought process and such. Um, and what I ended up doing was I built in basic fundability exercises and understanding on a per slide basis. If it turns out that when you're in the program and you start submitting content and we get on the live coaching, if it turns out that um, the gap between where you're at and where we think you need to be is too big, we'll refer you out to other pathways. We have other trading content to help you with your fundability. Okay. So if you remember this slide here, the far right option was pausing the training academy, the pitch academy, to be able to work on your fundability. Okay. But because there's so much content in the academy, you should be able to assess your level of fundability and maybe close some small gaps as part of the program because we'll teach you what gaps need to be filled. We'll teach you what and maybe a little bit of how. But if it turns out you need more help with how, that's where we might tell you, we recommend that you pause for fundability, or you could withdraw yourself and pause. Okay. So that's how we're trying to do it. I think it's something that simplifies the process. We were about to do some type of assessment to enter the program, but what we found was that it just complicates matters a lot. And since the program was built with fundability as integrated into the storytelling, we think that this can work the way we've structured it.
Thank you so much. That helped a lot. I look forward to joining your cohort.
Sounds good. We look forward to having you. Okay. All right. Let's see. It's a little bit after the top of the hour. A lot of people probably had to drop off, but let me look to see if there's another set of questions real quick. If I missed a question, please either repost it into the chat so it's at the bottom of the chat. Fareed, looks like, go ahead and unmute yourself to ask your question.
Hey, Sam. Thank you. I've been to a few of your workshops before and really appreciate your insights. I think I love the fact that you're focusing on the founders, preparing the founders for what's to come. I just signed up, by the way, so ready to go.
Sounds great.
I just looked up your book, by the way, on execution. I think this is a really important topic. It's one thing getting the money, but it's execution. I think is where things fail. I'm really curious if you'll be able to share some nuggets from your book during the course on execution specifically.
Yeah, if you remember from some of the training content, the answer to your question is yes. The book itself, I wrote 5 years ago, and it probably has 5 to 10% of the execution content. It's Execution is a huge realm, a huge problem. Okay, so the courseware has execution as baked into it, And if you remember this other slide here, um, there there are a number of slides as part of the deck itself that will cover execution. But the book is a small subset of what I believe needs to happen on execution. I am a startup operator and an execution bigot. Okay. I have been on many projects where I've been on a number of companies where the startup idea sounds great, but execution was poor and the company failed. There have been other places where the idea seemed, I'm not so sure that's really going to work. But the execution was great and the startup succeeded. Okay, so I fully believe in execution, and a lot of the content, especially with the middle and bottom row of slides, will have a lot of execution content covered. Okay. Let's see, JD, or did I answer your question, Free?
Yes, excellent.
Actually,
Thank
I
you.
just had,
Okay, great. It sounds like JD, go ahead.
yeah, thanks, Sam. Thanks for the presentation. I just signed up as well. Just had a quick question. Is the material focused a bit more on a particular stage, pre-seed or seed,
Good
or
question.
not really?
I'd say it's mostly pre-seed and seed, although most those terms are a little bit nebulous. Okay. So, whether you're raising 500,000 or 5 million or 50 million, the same principles still apply about telling an engaging story about a de-risked startup. Okay. Most companies, I would guess, would be pre-seed and seed. But the like I said, I think even if you're later stage, you're raising a Series A, I think this can really help because you may have been successful raising the seed round up to this point. I'd like to think that if you implement the best practices that we will teach and cover, the the time, energy, and effort needed to raise your Series A will be less. Okay, it will be faster, easier, and less painful. I'd like to think that's our goal. All right.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mhm. All right. Let's see. Somebody asked, what's the name of the book? 21 Secrets of Successful Startups. Okay. Um, is the name of the book. And if you go to our Fundable Startups website, um, there's some detail about the book itself. I think um, I just put it in the chat window, the link to a web page where the book is covered. Okay. Umit, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Oh, hi Sam. Umit with Papa.com, San Francisco-based little e-commerce startup here. My
Mhm.
question is about the timeline. You already kind of mentioned the highlights that
Mhm.
this can be a program anywhere from 3-4 months all the way up to 7-8 months, depending on the progress we
Mhm.
make here as candidates.
Mhm.
Uh, is that the minimum? Like, does that mean like even if I nail everything right and follow your instructions and deliver everything on time, does that
Mhm.
mean I think what I saw was 4 months? Does that mean there's no possibility of connecting with your resources
Mhm.
on terms of investors before 4 months? Like, is that what it means, or is there any
No.
way to
Okay.
engage at least maybe not qualify, but engage you with some investors through your channels prior to that 4 months? Is that even possible? That was my question.
There is no minimum. Okay. The focus is, can you meet the exit criteria of each stage? Okay. If you meet the exit criteria quickly, then we're happy to introduce you to the broader investor network, okay, that are participating in the program. Okay.
Oh, okay, so I misunderstood. It's not 4 months, depending on how fast I progress. So
Yes,
if I get it right,
when I said 4 months, what I was doing was trying to provide an honest estimate, knowing the exit criteria of each of the four stages here. Okay. Most founders think they're further along in the pitch and in the fundability, which is why only 1 in 400 pitch decks actually succeed in raising funds. Our goal is to provide the the criteria. The hurdles are not meant to block you from talking to an investor. They're meant to reduce the amount of time you waste if you're unfundable or if you're marginally fundable. We want to make it maximize your efficiency. And the other thing is, the investors choose to engage through the program because we have a certain level of quality to be able to exit. And if we lower that quality bar, the investors aren't going to be that interested. Okay. So, in order to maintain that standard, we we have certain exit criteria. We will communicate and work with you to hit the exit criteria, but it's really up to you and where your startup is at about how quickly you can.
I see. Well, thank you for that. I mean, we would love to sign up for it. I mean, I already signed up for this. I believe the $10 thing. I just did
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
last week when you were doing it. I'm looking forward to learning more. Thank you for the opportunity, and
Very
hopefully we'll
good.
put it together. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I don't think I saw any additional questions that were reposted. Yeah, I don't see any other hands raised, so let me go ahead and
Hey,
wrap things
Sam,
up. Yes.
just a quick question. The book is only available used on Amazon?
Oh, you know what? Amazon, for some reason, sent me the inventory back. I think there was some glitch. Let me go ahead and um, I'll work with Amazon to restock the inventory. I don't know why they sent me a big block of books back. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, they've only got one used for $61, I think it is.
Okay. All right. I'm going to guess that the Kindle version is still available on Amazon.
I
I'll work on
didn't
it.
see that in the format.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Thanks for the
it
heads
says
up.
see all buying options, and it only shows used.
Okay. I will take a look at that. Thank you for the heads up,
Sure.
Steve.
Sure.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining. I appreciate it, and we look forward to an opportunity to help you become fundable and raise funds. Best of luck to you. Thanks. Bye.
Great job, Sam.
Thanks.
If this was helpful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. You can also check out our other videos for more startup content.